And we're live. Oh man, this is gonna be fun.
Absolutely, man.
Welcome to the Contagious Thoughts Podcast. Oh man, this podcast is where people with purpose share their thoughts, and the podcast for dreamers. I think it's the number one podcast for dreamers, but it's for dreamers specifically who desire to make their dreams into reality. You might ask why the name. That's because thoughts filled with purpose are contagious. There you go. And with me today, oh man, we have a special guest, and I'm excited to introduce him to you guys. But let me give this man his flowers. And please correct me if I pronounce anything wrong or incorrectly. But we have a gentleman who has a Bachelor of Science in Exercise Science. And not only that, 5+ years. I think now it's significantly more than 5, right?
7 years now, yeah.
7 years now. As personal trainer, strength trainer, fitness trainer, and coach. He is a former HK street lifting champion, as well as the CEO of Fitness Resilience Coaching. I have to say, guys, that when you see him on Instagram, look at the top of his page and just check out his accolades, because this gentleman, he makes me feel a little bit insecure. We'll get into that a little bit down the road. But we have Hagen Wong.
Hey, I just go by Hagen.
Hagen, okay.
Yeah.
Hagen Wong. All right, the listeners are probably rolling their eyes. I think every
Don't worry,
interview,
man. It's all
I
good.
either butcher the first name or the last name. Like it's one or the other.
All good, man.
Man. Well, thanks for joining the show. I'm excited to have you here, man. I have a couple of segments of the show I think that we're gonna really have a lot of fun with. But I mean, for starters, the first time that we had a conversation, and it was actually a couple weeks ago,
hmm
I asked you the question. Actually, no, I think you volunteered. I think that you let me know that you were born in Hong Kong. Is that correct? Or were you okay, born in Hong Kong? And then at what point did you move to the States?
2016.
2016. Wow. And you moved to, was it Northern Virginia?
I actually moved to Washington, D.C. first.
Okay. Northern Virginia I was born and raised Northern Virginia, worked in DC, so old stomping grounds. And funny enough, the you guys know Aleem. I think he was episode 9. But that's actually how I met Hagen. So like,
Yeah,
I
through
mean,
Elite. Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah, he was my client a long time ago.
yeah. So if you see Aleem walking around looking good, looking shredded, I mean it's because it's because Hagen has put him on the right track. Um, but I wanted to ask, because I listen to your videos, I follow your content, and I
hmm
see how passionate you are and about fitness, about exercise. And I wanted to know if there's any time in your life that you remember not being serious about fitness or not taking it seriously, and kind of what that pivot was like for you,
Absolutely.
if there was one.
Oh, of course, yeah. But first off, I mean, thanks for letting me be on your podcast, and I love
Yeah,
the name, by the way, Contagious Thoughts. I
thanks.
think that's genius. I
Thanks,
think this is
man.
going to blow up one day, and
Thank you, man.
I want to support you every way I can, and I want to be able to provide as much value for all the listeners today, as much as I can. So to answer your question, yeah, absolutely. There were times when, so a little bit about my fitness journey. By Thank you for your introduction, by the way. That's
Oh yeah.
very flattering. Yeah, I was the 2017 Hong Kong street lifting champion. So for those of you who don't know what street lifting is, it's a very, very underground sport. For those of you guys who know what powerlifting is, street lifting is very similar to powerlifting. It's a strength sport. So we compete for 1 rep maxes, as in like how heavy you can lift something. So
Yeah.
in powerlifting, that would be squat, bench, deadlift, right? So in street lifting, it would be muscle up, pull up, dip, and squat. So basically
Okay.
body weight exercises, but you're putting weight on your body, and basically, okay, we're gonna see how much weight you can do for 1 repetition. And that
Wow.
was the sport that I was competing in.
Wow.
And up until before 2017 that I did the competition. I was training super hard. I was like, athletic. I was in shape,
Yeah.
super into fitness and everything. Got first place in the competition. But then after the competition, I suffered an injury that
Ooh.
brought everything to a complete stop.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just completely gave up on my training. And at the same time, because of winning that competition, I was getting like a lot of fame and social media fame and everything like that. And I kind of just put fitness on the back burner. And
Yeah.
the funny thing is, like, it wasn't even that serious of an injury
Yeah.
because, like, I knew what to do to rehab it, and
Yeah.
it wasn't really a big deal. But it was my mindset that was kinda holding me back. I was, like, really, really cocky, I was really arrogant, I was like, "Yeah, I'm the number 1 champion, like,
Yeah.
I don't need to work out anymore. Yeah, I got injured, whatever." I started getting lazy, I started focusing more of my time on my business instead of actually going to the gym, and then
Mm.
slowly over time, I just stopped training,
Yeah.
stopped watching what I
Yeah.
eat, and I completely gave up, and it got to a point where, man, I was just like, I lost all my muscle mass. I started gaining body fat. I wasn't like overweight,
Right.
but I was like mediocre. And if you compare to like what I look like in my prime time, like during the competition, like
Yeah.
it was a world of a difference. And I was actually very, very insecure and embarrassed about it. And it got to a point where like it was like going down a dark hole that I didn't even want to like go out of my house.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
it was a hard time because I was going to school to pursue my degree in exercise science, right? And I was working as a personal trainer and a strength coach at the same time, right, running my business. But I felt like I had imposter syndrome because I wasn't in shape and wasn't practicing what I preached myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I had that kind of internal battle in my head. And then I started questioning myself. I was like, do I really want to go down this fitness route? Do I really want to continue being a fitness coach, being a personal trainer? And then I started doing other jobs. I did a lot of things I wasn't proud of, started getting into alcohol, started getting into drugs,
Yeah.
and it was like a downward spiral. But it wasn't until a point where it started really affecting like my mental health and my family, my wife and my daughter, that I was like, okay, no, like this needs to stop. Like
Right.
I used to be like up here, now I'm like down here. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
what happened? How did I get here?
Yeah.
Right. And I think everybody goes through that, but the reason I share that story is because I want people to understand that even for me, like a quote unquote fitness expert who was like a champion athlete can go through something like that.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
so I,
That's
like, I
big.
understand the struggles of like someone who's not in the fitness industry, who doesn't know anything about fitness, going through those struggles. Cause like people look at me and they think like, oh, he's always been in shape. He's always knew
Yeah.
everything about fitness. He always knows what to do. But like, it's just because you know what to do doesn't mean you can actually do it.
That's
So
real, man. That's real.
there exactly, it's not just the technicalities, like what to do in the gym, how to eat, the training, the nutrition. Yeah, that's important, but if you don't have, like, a deeper reason of why, or, like
Yeah.
like, no motivation, like, you're not gonna be able to get to the goal that you wanna get to. That's why a lot of the content that I post on my social media, you'll see me, I don't talk a lot about training and nutrition, about specific
Mm.
exercises and sets and reps, because you can find that stuff for free on the internet.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Fitness is free. So I talk a lot more about mindset and motivation
Mm.
because I think if you just have that part in check, like you have a serious reason of why you want to get into this fitness thing, the know-how is irrelevant.
Yeah.
I'd rather someone be like 10 out of 10 motivated with like a 4 out of 10 know-how than someone with like a 10 out of 10 know-how and like a 4 out of 10 motivated.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, you know what to do, but you're not doing it, and you don't have enough motivation to actually keep it consistent. Because we all know consistency is important, right?
Yeah.
Then you're
Yeah.
not going to get to your goal. So,
That's major, and I'm glad that you shared that because I feel like it is easy. I mean, like for me, I look at you, I look at different fitness, coaches that are on the internet or on social media, And I'm like, well, they just have some type of natural ability for like fat to just fall off their bodies, or like just like they were born with that body. I don't know, whatever. Like I give myself but I think that humanizing people and
Mm,
like humanizing yourself, I think it helps people to be able to hear you too, because they're like, okay, he can relate. So he's felt how I felt, or he's been where I am. So when he's giving perspective or giving advice or, coaching, or even if you're coming at someone like really strong, they're like, okay, I can trust where this is coming from, because you've experienced what I've experienced, or where I am, or what I'm currently experiencing. So I love that you shared that. There's a couple of questions. One, I noticed that you have selected like your avatar, or your
mhm,
target customer.
mhm,
You've narrowed that down very well. And
mhm,
from what you kind of have on your platforms, you're trying to help the 1% get in shape.
mhm,
And
mhm,
I'm just curious, because people are going to look at your page and they might be thinking the same thing. I'm
mhm.
curious, why the 1%? There's a whole 99 other
Yeah.
percent of the world, but what made you narrow in on the 1% to as your target client?
Yeah, dude. If I'm 100% honest with you, I was just so sick of like talking to people who are like not serious about their fitness goals and just tire kickers, and I have to dance around the idea of whether you can afford it or not.
Yeah,
When I'm talking to like the 1%, like really
sure.
successful, high performing people, it's not a question of whether or not they can afford it. It's more of a question of, is this something that they desire and they
Yeah,
actually want to commit to? And people at that level, they tend to always want to be winning. They're already
yeah,
winning in their business. They're always
yeah.
looking for that next, I guess, adventure. Or
Right.
when it comes
Like
to
the next
fitness,
challenge.
yeah. So what I found is, just to be quite honest, like I'm so sick of like taking on these quote unquote cheaper clients.
Yeah.
Not to put anybody down, of course.
Sure.
Um, but like I get them in, they're not really paying me that much, and then they don't take it seriously.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
then it's kind of like a waste of time because like, yeah, okay, you're paying me, but then you're not seeing the results, you're not as invested.
Yeah.
So what's the point? Why am
Yeah.
I wasting my time training you? Because what I do works.
Yeah.
It's not about whether or not it works or not. What I do works, but if you're not willing to like commit and invest in yourself, then I'd rather not work with you.
Yeah.
So I did a complete 180. One day I was just so sick of it, and I'm just like, you know what? From now on, like if you don't make this much money, like I'm not gonna work with you.
Yeah. Sure.
And then what automatically happened? Well, people who tend to make more money tend to be business owners and entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
So I just started automatically attracting that audience. And I also got a lot more hate, right? Which is ironic because when I was like running ads for like general population fitness, I didn't get any hate.
Wow.
But like
Interesting.
nobody was leaving any comments, nobody was leaving any like, liking my posts or whatever. But as soon as I pivoted and started, oh, you know what? You guys aren't allowed to work with me. I'm only working with these people. All of a sudden, they're all like, oh, what do you mean? Like, I need help with fitness. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
now I get all this attention just because I'm disregarding like 99% of the population.
Right. Right.
So that's
Right.
very
Right.
interesting, right? How people think. But did I answer your question? What was your question?
Yeah. No. Why you focus on the 1%? And you did. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, and like those are. I know that there's a there's a I forget what course it was, or what platform where it was, but essentially the I guess words of wisdom, or the perspective that I got was, whatever your product is, or whatever your business is, like your target client has to be able to afford what you're
Mhm,
offering. So
mhm.
if you're offering your product or your service to people that aren't able to afford it, like you're not going to do well in business, because
Yeah.
you don't have you haven't fully flushed out or planned out your business. Your target customer, either your prices have to change or your customer has to change. One of the two. And if you change your prices, then you need volume, and with volume, depending on what your product or service is, you need time. And if you have limited time, then now you have to go back to the drawing board and say, well, do I need to change my prices? And especially, it's different if you're, you know, I don't know, in college or something, and you just have a side hustle. Um, but if this is what you're doing to put food on the table for your family, it's like, well, how much money do I need to make to provide for my family? And then now let me reverse engineer this.
Yes.
How much time do I have? What are my resources? Do I have a team? There's so many factors, and so I respect that you have a business, you found a niche, and you know what I'm trying to say? Like, it's like you found a niche, you found a
Yeah.
client who is willing to pay for your service, and you're choosing how you're using your time. I can't have
Yeah.
anything but respect for that.
No,
You
I
know?
appreciate it 100%,
Yeah.
man. And another thing I'll add to that is like people in this demographic, like super high achieving individuals,
Yeah.
they're like not afraid to admit that they want something, right?
Hmm.
If we kind of take a break from talking about fitness and we talk about business and making money, right? I mean, you're in the entrepreneurial space, you're trying to
Yep.
start a real company. Like a lot of people who are not on the same path as us, they'll look at us and they'll be like, "Ah, you guys are money hungry. Like, why are you guys working so hard?" It's like, money is not everything. Like, money doesn't buy happiness. Like, just relax a little bit. You know what I mean? But we think a little differently.
Yeah.
Like, okay, yeah, money might not necessarily buy happiness, but it's very, very important. And I'm not afraid to admit that I want more money
Yeah.
because if I have more money, well, guess what? I can provide more value to my friends, my family, to society,
Yeah.
right? So, do I want it for selfish reasons? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But the more money I have, I can also be more selfless, right?
Facts.
And
Yeah.
actually, the broke people who are the most selfish because they don't have a lot of money, so they
Sure.
don't have a lot to give.
Sure. Sure.
When I was broke, like people would always like be asking like, "Hey, can you donate to this charity? Can you donate this?" And I couldn't because I was broke. I had to pay my
Yeah.
bills. But
Right.
now that my business is a little bit more successful and I have some extra funds to spare, when I see a cause that I resonate with and I want to donate money to it, I can do it because I can
Be
afford
more
to.
generous. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I don't understand like this idea that like that people are selfish because they want more money. At the end of the
Yeah.
day, the more money you have, the more value you can provide for society. And
Yeah.
the thing is like they want to be self-righteous. And there's like a little bit of like, how do I explain this? Like it makes them feel better because it sounds good on paper.
Sure.
Like,
Sure.
yeah, I want to help the homeless. I want to do this. Or yeah, if we go back to fitness, like, yeah, I just want to be healthy and get in shape. Like, not for myself. I don't really care about my looks. It's really for something else. Like, no, just admit that you're
Yeah.
doing it for
You
yourself.
want it for you. Yeah.
You want it for you. There's nothing wrong with that. There's
Not at
nothing
all.
wrong with
Not at all.
wanting money. There's nothing
Right.
wrong with wanting to be jacked and have a six pack when you walk
Yeah.
into a room in great shape, right? So just admit it.
Right.
And that's
Right.
something that I'm really passionate about is because people are dancing around this idea and they just they're afraid to admit that they want to win. And
Yeah.
that's kind of why I stopped, I guess, targeting the quote unquote general population because they're just in this mediocre mindset
Mm.
when I'm just so fed up with that. I'm
Yeah.
so sick of dancing around the idea. I talk to people all the time. What are your fitness goals? "Oh, I just want to be healthy. Oh, I just want to be fit. I just want to be toned." All right, who
Yeah.
doesn't want to be healthy?
Right.
Like
Right.
ask who when they were a kid, if you ask them, "Hey, what do you want to be when you grow up?" Who said, "Oh, I want to be 50 pounds overweight and unhealthy." Nobody says that. So when you tell me, when I ask you what
Yeah.
your goals are, you tell me, "I just want to be healthy." That doesn't mean anything,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
If you could just reach deep into your soul and just admit that you
Yeah.
want to be absolutely jacked and look like an absolute beast when you walk into a room and have
Yeah.
everybody look at you, "Who's that guy?
Yeah.
Oh my God." Like, when you see someone who's in shape, you immediately have respect for that guy because
Yeah.
he put in the work.
He worked hard. Yeah.
It's like walking discipline, but the problem is like people are afraid to admit it,
Mm.
or they think it's bad. They think it's like because society loves to celebrate mediocrity and the average.
Mm.
Like it's not okay to win. Everybody wants a participation trophy nowadays.
Mm.
right? Where I come from, the culture is very conservative, and it's competition. It's
Yeah.
like you either win or you lose.
Right.
Like, I don't know what's going on recently in the years here in the US, but everybody is like, "Oh, it's okay, you know, you participated, you can it's okay, not everybody has to win." So, I'm very,
Yeah.
very much against that.
Yeah, no, and for me, when it comes to, I think that what people mistaken hard work and a drive for success, they're mistaking it for greed. And I think that it's very different when you want to make money and you want to step on other people or put people down or pull people down so that you can pull yourself up. I think that's very different, and that is 100% what I'm not about
For
and
sure,
what Hagen is not about. But
sure.
like, do I desire more money? Absolutely. And there's
Yeah,
nothing wrong with that. Like, I see nothing
yeah,
wrong with that either. And
exactly.
a matter of fact, like, I think that um like I have dreams and goals that are only able to be accomplished with more money. And like saying that out loud, I know how it can be perceived. Like, oh, more money, and it's like people will
Mhm,
put you in this box of like this
mhm,
money hungry, greedy person, and
yeah,
it's like no. But I also am aware that like I have bills that I have to pay. I have student loans. I have credit card debt. I have things like that, right?
right.
And if I stop paying because I don't have money, it's gonna be a problem for myself, for my family, my credit, my house that I live in. Like, I'm not gonna be able to do things. So I think that deciphering between those two things are like really important. But I'm 100% with you that
Yeah,
we shouldn't have a posture of you know wanting or desiring more money is bad, or you're gonna be greedy, or you're gonna lose sight of the goal. It's like, oh no, man, like I'm locked in on the goal.
yeah.
I'm
No,
locked in on
100
the prize. I'm locked in on the purpose and the movement of like why I started this podcast.
yeah,
It's bigger than just money. Um, but money is unavoidable. Like it's a necessary thing, and
yeah,
so for me, with the movement of this podcast, it's really important for me that people are inspired to, that myself included, people are inspired to make their dreams a reality and not bring their dreams to the grave without ever being lived. That would be a extremely sad reality, like I don't want that reality, and it hurts my heart to think that there are people that will have that reality. And
yeah,
so I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm gonna start a movement of people. Movement's already started, uh, where we're gonna inspire people to do the opposite, to actually put
yeah,
those dreams into action, make it a reality. And like you said, there's so much good that can be done if we have the capital to do it, you know.
exactly.
And with that being said, I do want to dive into some of these
Oh, yeah,
these
yeah, yeah.
myths. Yeah.
Yeah, so there are really only, like, 7 different myths, when it comes to, like, fitness. First one, we already talked about, and it's like oh, so let me pre-frame it this way. Here are 7 things that you don't need to do to get in shape, alright?
I like
Number
that.
1 is you don't need to do loads of cardio. Yeah. The second thing you don't need to do is you don't need to do a lot of high intensity interval training, HIIT training. You
mm.
ever heard of that?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So, like, this is
Yeah.
like what you see in, like, Orange Theory, F45. You'll see, like, trainers in the gym training their clients like this, like circuit style workouts. Like, they'll do one thing and then they jump into the next thing, and it's like
Right.
it gets so intense that it doesn't it's resistance training at first, but then it turns into cardiovascular training.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then you're actually doing the wrong thing. And then, like, okay, you're sweating a lot, but again, sweating doesn't equate doing the right thing.
Hmm. Yeah.
Right. So you
Yeah.
should not be doing that, because then you're not training the muscles in your body to the appropriate intensity that is required to change your body composition,
Hmm.
which is what most people want when they tell me, hey, I want to get toned, I want to get fit. All right, what does that mean technically? Technically, that means you want to change your body composition, like your muscle to fat ratio.
Sure.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
It's not going to be from cardio, and it's not going to be from HIIT training.
Hmm.
Right. All right, sure, you can do that for like 10 years straight, 15 years straight, maybe get into good shape. But but like, do you really want to waste 10 years when I have like a more efficient path for you, which is just resistance training 4 times a week, 10,000 steps a day, meet your calorie and protein needs.
Simple.
You know what I mean?
I like the
And
simplicity.
then, yeah. And then the third thing is supersets. Like you don't
Okay.
need to do supersets. You know what supersets are?
Oh yeah.
It's like you do one exercise, you don't rest, and then you do another exercise.
Yep.
It's like there are people at the gym where, you know, you're trying to use a machine and they're like, oh, I'm on that. Oh, I'm on that. I'm on that. Like, dude, like, why? Because here's going back to in HIIT training, right? What you're doing is like you're doing one exercise and then you're tired, right? But you're not giving yourself a break, and then you jump to the next exercise. So the quality of you doing that exercise decrease because you're fatigued going into that next exercise. So you can't do that exercise to the appropriate intensity that is required again to change your body composition over the long period of time.
Yeah.
Right. So what we do in the gym to train appropriately, okay, let's say you have 4 sets of 10 repetitions, just a random example. All right, we do that first set of 10 and we train hard, we go close to failure. All right, we'll rest 1 to 2 minutes, sometimes maybe 3 minutes. Right. Do whatever you want and while you're resting. And then we do that next set with that same intensity.
Yeah.
You know, it's like more chill, right? But during that set, it's like I'm killing it. You know what I mean?
I resonate with that because I hate going into a new workout and like my arms are like, dude, I'm gonna drop this weight on myself because like I'm it's my muscles are so tired. Like, you know, like give me like 2 minutes. Like,
yeah, rest between your sets and then attack each set with the appropriate intensity, train close to failure.
I like that.
Right. We can get into more specifics, but probably not for this kind of conversation.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. And then the fourth thing is like, hold on, 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Fourth thing is
I lost
doing
count.
2 a days. 2 a days.
Okay.
2 workouts in a day.
Yeah.
You don't need to do 2 workouts in a day.
Yeah.
All right. Especially for someone like you, someone like me, a business owner, entrepreneur, high performing individuals with family members and kids. Like, do you really think there's time to train twice a day?
Right.
No.
No.
It's impossible.
Not at all.
And it's not necessary.
Yeah.
Right? And it's funny, the people who do this, they're doing it because they want to prove to themselves how mentally tough they are. And there's nothing mentally tough about forcing yourself to do 2 a days, because the reason why you're doing that is because you want to get in shape in the first place. Well, you know what's more mentally tough? Actually getting to your goal, like getting in shape and maintaining it.
Right.
That's pretty mentally tough.
Like longevity and like keeping to a goal over a long period of time.
Exactly.
Or sticking to a goal, sticking to a regimen. Yeah.
Right. Like, because like the whole reason 99% of people start this fitness thing is because they want to get in shape.
Right.
But the people who do these 2 a days and these goofy 6-week challenges or 75-day challenges are the people who are not in shape. I actually made a post recently about that.
I saw that.
Right?
I saw that.
Yeah. And again, it's like people think I'm hating on Andy Frisella on the 75-day hard. Like, I'm not hating on that guy. I love that guy. I love his message.
I got your point loud and clear. Yeah.
People are just, they don't understand. Like, you're not mentally tough if you can do some challenge for 6 weeks or 75 days, and then you can check the box, right? You're mentally tough if you can get into the goal that you said that you wanted to get to, and then maintain it for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
That's pretty mentally tough, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
Right.
That takes an enormous amount of discipline and hard work and focus.
Right.
Emphasis on the discipline.
And I'll tell you what happens. Most people, they start their fitness journey, right? Like, I want to get a 6-pack. I want to get jacked. I want to look like absolutely amazing. And then they realize how difficult it is to stay on track and stay motivated and stay disciplined. So what happens is that they switch their goal, and they pretend like they don't care about it. Like, 6-pack, these big muscles. Do I really want it? Nah, let me just sign up for this marathon. Let me just run this 5K. 75-day hard. I'm gonna do that because I'm gonna prove to myself how tough I am. Like, you see my point? Like, you're just switching the goalpost because what you initially wanted to do was too difficult.
Yeah.
So that was a tangent, but that was
it's all good.
So yeah, you don't need to do 2 a days.
Yeah.
And then the fifth thing is, I think we already talked about this. You don't need to train more than 4 times a week.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Yeah.
just not necessary.
Yeah.
I only train 4
I like
times a
that.
week. Majority of my clients only train 4 times a week because in those 4 training sessions, we make the most out of it and we're doing the right things.
I like that. I like
We're
that.
not doing 6, 7 days a week, and we're spending 0 time with family and not spending any time on working on our business, right? We have lives. We have things that we have to do during the day and during the week, right?
Yeah.
So me personally, I train Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday I take off. I train Thursday, Friday, and then I take off on the weekends, spend time with family.
I like that. I like the day of rest in the middle. Like,
Exactly.
it's like your body, it gives your body a chance to heal. I like that.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then number 6 would be like buying a bunch of supplements. You don't need to do that.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, like as soon as they start their fitness journey, they're like, "Oh, what about this weight loss pill? Oh, what about this? What about that?" It's like, again, like there's no magic pill. There's nothing
Right.
that's going to expedite your weight loss in any way other than the core things we talked about. Uh, resistance training 4 times a week, 10,000 steps a day, meet your calorie and protein needs.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So that's number 6. And then the last thing would be you don't need to cut out alcohol and your favorite foods.
I like
Right?
it.
There are ways to still incorporate them into your diet. Remember, we talked about that, right?
Yep.
Staying under your calories. Now, if you have a problem with alcohol, that's another story. Right? I'm not gonna go into that. I'm not
Right. Right. Totally
rehab
different. Totally
approach,
different. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like most people, like the problem, like, as we discussed, is like they cut out all these things, and then willpower can only last so long.
Yeah.
So then they end up falling off the wagon, and it's like this vicious cycle when if I can teach you how to still incorporate those types of foods and quote unquote vices into your diet, well, then you're more likely to stay on track with it.
Yeah. Dude, that's yeah. Facts. I've lived that. I shared with you that I was able to cold turkey like cut out sugar, like no sugar, no bread for like around 8 months,
Yep.
but I'm not still doing that because it didn't last, you know. So
Exactly.
like,
Exactly.
like today I probably had some, yeah, sugar and bread. So yeah,
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
I feel like my so this is a part of the interview that I'm gonna pretend that I'm like your client, right?
Okay.
And I'm just gonna be very transparent about like where I'm
Sure.
at, and I just want to get
Go
your
ahead.
thoughts and get your
Yeah. Of course.
perspective, you
Of
know.
course, man. Sure.
And and so I'm a person where like I enjoy working out. Like I
Okay.
love working out. I've made time for it over the years. And there's been seasons where I'll fall off completely, or
Mhm.
I'll, say around the holidays and I start eating junk or like eating like
Mhm.
I don't typically eat, or and then some type of life situation happens where I fall off of my regimen. But
Mhm.
before, so I just had my third kid.
Oh,
A
congratulations.
about Yeah, thank you, man, thank you. Yeah, it's about let me see, a month and a half ago now, almost 2 months. And before that, I had my regimen and I worked out about 5 days a week, right? And I'm gonna run you through what my workout regimen is, and I want you to pick it apart. Let me know. You
Sure.
know what I'm saying? Like, you don't
Yeah.
have to give away like all your, like secrets, but I'm just
I'm
saying
gonna
like
give everything away today, bro.
Alright,
I'm
sweet.
not holding anything back. I wanna give you as much
That's
value as
awesome.
I
That's awesome, man. Yeah, just pick it apart, man. And
Yeah.
don't worry about hurting my feelings.
Okay. Okay.
I'm here for it. I'm here for it. And so I right now haven't I've probably done some push-ups here and there. I've done maybe some pull-ups a couple times. I have a little pull-up bar you hook above the door frame, but I haven't had like a serious workout routine like, in a couple months now. And
Mhm.
like my eating, I've gotten looser. I'm like 210 right now, and like
Okay.
I wear these sweaters because it hides my belly. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Okay.
you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm in
Yeah.
my 30s, and it's like I don't want to, I don't want to look like I'm like, got the pop belly,
Right.
walking around like, you can sit something on your belly. I don't, you don't want to expose that. So,
Right.
so yeah, my, I guess my how I was before having a baby, I noticed there's a stark difference after. And also, I've been focusing a lot on the podcast. I've let just grinding and working on the business get in the way, and I just have not picked it back up. And
Yeah.
I've heard you say on your platform just how the mind is connected to the body, and how fitness impacts just the mental toughness of, I guess, of the entrepreneur, of the business owner, somebody who is trying to build something great,
Yeah.
and how the shape that your body is in impacts that. So I'm just curious on your feedback for someone like me. Like, if I was a client of yours, I come to you and like, hey man, this is where I'm at.
Mhm.
What type of coaching or perspective, would you give me? And I say that being someone who is actively building a business 7 days
Right.
a week, no days off.
Understood.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally understand, bro. I mean, a lot of the clients that I work with are like entrepreneurs, business
Yeah.
owners, high performing individuals. I have a client who runs multiple seven-figure companies, and I have another client who's like CEO of like a garbage company. So I understand like
Nice.
the demands of an insanely busy lifestyle. Plus, I'm a husband and a father as well, so I
Right.
understand.
Yeah.
You have kids to take care of as well, especially young kids for you. Sometimes they wake up like 2 hours earlier, so it's like it ruins your
Yeah.
entire routine, right? Which is why, especially for people like you, especially like high performing individuals who are on that entrepreneurial grind, the first thing I always look at is what your routine looks like,
Yeah.
particularly the morning routine.
Yeah.
Um, because how you start your morning, I'm a firm believer, how you start your morning is going to set up the rest of the day.
Hmm.
Now, when I say morning routine, I don't mean like there's 20 items on a laundry list that you have to do.
Right.
That's stupid because nobody has time for that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm talking about like the most efficient way that we need to operate our day and how to start that day. So, especially for someone like you who's insanely busy and you got kids to take care of and you're working 12, 15 hours a day, I highly, highly recommend that you wake up early and get that workout out of the way. Like I'm
Yeah.
talking like early, early, like 4:30 a.m. or 5 a.m.
Right. Yeah.
Because at that time, your kids are still sleeping, right? You're not going to have emails and text messages, people wanting to talk to you and get access to you in that time
Sure.
frame.
Sure.
So that's time for you to get that workout in.
Yeah.
The problem is if you quote unquote schedule the workout in the afternoon, at let's say 2 p.m., and then okay, you have a call at 1:30 and you're like, oh, it's only going to be a 15-minute call, but then that call goes over and then it spills over to your workout time,
Yeah.
then you're going to miss your workout. It's like, oh, I'll do it later, and then that never ends up happening.
Right.
Or like
Right.
you schedule it for the nighttime, and then you finish working, and then like, I'm too tired, I'm not going to go. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
like people think that they can keep it consistent by putting it on their calendar. But what I've seen over the years working with hundreds of people, especially high performing individuals, you have to get it out of the way in the morning when
Yeah.
everybody is still sleeping because that's like your own personal time. Nobody's trying to get access to you. You don't have to respond to like emails and text messages or some of your employees or put out certain fires somewhere else. So that would be the number one thing I look at.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I would also, of course, you were telling me about how you're up and down and inconsistent with your training regimen. Um, I would also make sure that whatever you're doing is sustainable for the long term.
Right.
So you told me you're training 5 times a week, or that's typically what your routine looked like, right?
Yeah.
I
And I'll
don't have
break that
any,
down a little bit.
yeah, I don't have any of my clients training 5 times a week.
Okay.
That is like just completely unnecessary. Right?
Interesting. Okay.
So
Okay.
so people always think like more is always better, right?
Sure.
Especially for someone who's like I'm sick of being overweight. I'm sick of being out of shape. This year I'm finally gonna get everything together and embark on this fitness journey. And their enthusiasm is at a high. Their motivation is at a high, which I'm all for, right? But then they want to go all out. They have this all or nothing mentality. Like I'm gonna train
Yeah.
5 times a week, 6 days a week, 7 days a week, but then guess what happens? It's too much for them to handle.
Yeah, you
First week
burn
might be
out
okay.
or
Yep,
yeah,
exactly. You're gonna burn out by week 3.
right.
So what's the point, right? So, like, I don't care if you can do 5 times a week or 7 days a week or work out twice a day. Like, that doesn't matter. What
Right.
matters is what's the minimum effective dose that we need for you to get the maximum results, but at the same time, something that you can keep sustainable for the rest of your life, not just for
Yeah.
3 months, not just for 6
Yeah.
months. Because like I talk about in my videos, fitness has to be part of your lifestyle. You don't just lose a lot of weight and get in shape and then you never have to think about fitness again. No, you have to like
Exactly.
maintain
You gotta
whatever you have
maintain
doing.
that. Yeah. Keep
You know
it.
what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So unless you plan on training 5 days a week for the rest of your life, I mean, I don't want to do that. I don't have time to do that. I only train
Yeah.
4 times a week. I had plenty of clients who train 3 times a week and they make excellent results.
Interesting.
So it's not so much about the frequency. I mean, obviously, once a week is probably not enough,
Sure.
but it's more so about the quality and actually what you're doing, if that makes sense.
Interesting. So you said you do how many times a week?
Me personally, I only train 4 times a week,
4 times. Okay. And you will recommend to clients 3 times a week,
3 to
but
4.
3 to 4. Okay. But not too. Two would be too few or too little. You think?
I mean, that can be a good start. Like
Sure.
if someone says like I'm insanely busy, like I can
Right.
only squeeze in 2 workouts a week. Okay, then that's where we'll start, and then we'll slowly build them up to be able to incorporate more into their lifestyle.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Because the way that I was doing it, and let me know what you think about. Um, actually, before I ask you what you think about my workout plan or my
Yeah,
fitness regiment, if we can
yeah.
call it that. So typically, I wake up at like 4 a.m., 4:30, and I wake up that early because my kids are not awake, my wife is
Mhm.
not awake, nobody
Exactly,
can demand anything of me, and I can get a
exactly.
bunch of stuff done for the business, right, for my company.
Mhm,
And so that time is like the way my brain sees it, I'm like, oh man, this is like precious time that like I get
mhm,
to use to like
mhm,
build this dream that I'm chasing after.
mhm.
Um, and I guess I'm curious how long you work out for, just so I can picture in my head of like, well, how how much time is it? An hour? Do you do 45 minutes? Like what, so I can figure out how much time to block off.
Honestly, if you're doing the right things and you're training efficiently, an hour tops, like,
Okay.
in the gym. Of
Okay.
course, you have to account for, like, commuting to the gym, commuting back, maybe
Yeah.
taking a shower, right?
Right.
That counts for the total time. But, like,
Right.
actual training in the gym, 1 hour tops.
I mean, I have a home gym. I hope it's good enough, but it's in my garage, and
Okay.
might not have all the things that a gym has, but I have a bench and a rack. I can bench, I can squat, I can do pull-ups, I can
Oh,
do
okay.
incline. I have some free weights, some resistance bands, a treadmill. Let me see what else I have. That's about it. I have some stuff that you can like hook onto a door and do like some rows and stuff like
Okay.
that. But you can do bent over rows with yeah, I have some stuff, man. It's not like it's not an Olympic gym or anything like that, but it's
Yeah.
something.
I mean, that sounds good enough, sounds like a good start.
Okay.
But
Okay.
eventually, as you become more advanced, I would recommend like actually going to a gym.
Sure.
Number one, because of the variety of equipment you have access to.
Yeah.
And number two, just getting out of that environment of like not being at your home. Because if you're just always in the same environment, even if it's in your garage gym, like your mental, like your mindset is not going to be at the right state. But if you have to like physically go somewhere else, like into another location for a gym
Yeah.
surrounded by other people who are also working hard, it's just going to be a little bit better. Like the atmosphere, the aura is just going to be a little
Sure.
bit better for your motivation and being able to push yourself. But those are like
I got you.
small,
I got you.
small
Yeah.
factors. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm trying to figure out how to balance this 4 a.m. Workout time and like,
Yeah.
what I'm
So
saying,
dude,
four to five, and then
if
five
you,
to six. I could
yeah,
work on the business from 5 to 6 if I do from 4 to 5.
you could. I mean, it's pretty impressive already that you wake up at 4. You said 4 in the morning?
Yeah, 4 in the morning. Yeah,
That's really
I
impressive. I mean,
yeah I
yeah.
have to, man. I have to.
Okay.
trying to
And what
build
time do you
something.
normally go to bed?
Well, so when I try to burn the candle on both ends, that's when I start like getting sick or like
Yeah,
running myself
exactly.
ragged.
Right.
And so I try to by like 10:30 to go to
Okay.
bed. Sometimes it's a little bit later than that, just depending on what's going on, but I try to do that. I can function off of 4 hours, but I know it's not good.
Mm.
Anything less than 4 hours, I'm dead to the world. Like it's not even.
Right.
It's just give up. But I try to, yeah, about, yeah, 10:30. It's like
So
good.
from what you're telling me, you're getting about 5 to 6 hours of sleep. Do you feel like that's enough sleep for you to function?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay,
I so
that's fine.
so I did mechanical engineering in school, and I used
Okay.
to just run off of very little sleep. Now I've had people tell me like, "Dude, you're gonna like die early because you don't get enough sleep." But I'm just like, hey, I mean, I don't know. Like I feel fine when I have
Yeah.
5 6 hours of sleep. I don't know.
If you're fine, you're fine. Like me personally, I like 6 to 7 hours of sleep.
Okay.
But if
Yeah.
that works for you, that works for you. So let's say, okay, you get up at 4 a.m., right?
Yeah.
So as soon as your feet touch the ground, what I would recommend is just drinking a liter of water.
Mm.
Stay
Wow. Yeah.
hydrated in the
Yeah.
earlier part of the day.
Yeah.
The reason being, a lot of times people forget to drink water and stay hydrated throughout the
Drink some
day.
water right now.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like 3 p.m. now, right?
I'm like far
So,
behind, by the way. So
yeah, so better chug that water. So what happens is they start like backlogging that water towards the end of the day, and what happens when you do that is it disrupts your sleep because you have to get up and pee,
yeah,
right? So you're not getting
facts.
into like deep REM sleep, right? That's why as soon as you wake up in the morning at 4 a.m., or for me, I wake up around 5:30.
Yeah.
um, Chug a liter of water. That way, I already have a lot of water in my system. I'm staying hydrated earlier in the day, so I don't have to worry about that. And then what I
Yeah.
typically recommend next, this is what I do next, is I'll get in my car, or for you, you have a home gym, and on the way to the gym, I'll grab coffee,
Yeah.
Starbucks or somewhere, whatever. If I have coffee at home, I'll make coffee at home. Some people say, you don't like they don't like to drink coffee first thing in the morning. I mean, I think if I'm about to hit the gym, I don't think it really
Yeah.
matters. I think if you're gonna like
Mm.
sit down
Right.
still and do nothing, okay, maybe it's not the best thing. But me personally, I like to have coffee before I go to the gym,
Sure.
and then I'll hit my gym session, in and out, be back
Yep.
home, shower, and then I'm ready to just kill the day.
Yeah. Yeah. So that brings me to another question that I had. I'm gonna get to my exercise regimen, but when you
Yeah,
talked about drinking coffee, and I guess like drinking a regular coffee is different from like, oh, I just got like a pumpkin spice latte with like extra
yeah, of
pumps of like, you know what I'm
course,
saying, like the
yeah,
syrup or whatever. But
yeah,
so I did intermittent fasting for quite some time,
yeah,
and I know that's like hot issue in your realm, in the fitness realm.
hmm hmm
There's people who are big proponents of it, people who are like, no, it doesn't work. I did it. I've lost a ton of weight on it. I I guess like I've gotten off of it like when I go through like having a baby or the holidays, then I kind of get off of it. Like right now I'm not really doing it right now. But
yeah.
I'm just curious like how you see I guess the bigger question is how you see nutrition and fitness coming together and
Yeah.
like what advice you give to your clients, but specifically intermittent fasting, I'm just curious on your
Okay.
take on
Yeah,
that as
yeah.
well.
I mean, so here's the thing, right? Obviously, training is super important. Doing the right exercises, working out properly and efficiently in the gym to help you lose weight and get in shape.
Yeah.
But nutrition is also super important. And the main thing for nutrition, if you're trying to manipulate your body composition, lose weight, get that six pack, build muscle mass, it's not so much about the type of diet or like what you eat. It's more about how much of it that you're eating. So
Yeah.
focus more on the
Yeah.
quantity rather than the quality. You brought up intermittent fasting. Okay. Why do people tend to lose more weight on intermittent fasting? Because they're literally consuming like no calories for like half of the day. And then they have like one or two meals at the end of the day. Right.
Right. Right.
So if they're eating the appropriate meals at the end of the day, okay, then they're gonna lose weight. But if they're like going on like a four-course meal with appetizers and desserts, that's way too many calories. And they're
Right,
gonna
right,
they're gonna go over their calories. Doesn't matter if they were doing intermittent fasting, right?
right, right.
So, I hate to like say the same things that every other fitness coach says, but it's true. It's all about calories in and calories out.
Sure,
It's like if you're not in a calorie deficit, you're not gonna lose weight.
sure.
You
Yeah,
know what I mean? It's like if you're in a calorie surplus, okay, you're gonna gain weight. If you're
right,
eating at your calorie maintenance, you're gonna maintain your weight. If you're at a
right,
calorie deficit, you're going to lose weight. It's like it's not rocket science.
right,
So
right, right,
it
right,
doesn't matter if you're doing intermittent fasting, it doesn't matter if you're doing paleo, it doesn't matter if you're doing keto, it doesn't matter whatever diet fad you want to do,
right.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
The only thing that matters is a calorie deficit. And the best way to achieve that is to find a diet that you can stick with for the long term. So if intermittent fasting works for you for the long term, for the rest of your life, and you can incorporate that into your lifestyle in a sustainable manner, all right, go for it.
right, right.
But if you're going to be like on and off and sometimes, all right, this week I'm going to do it, but next week I'm not going to do it, then what's the
Yeah,
point?
right, right. Yeah, I would say that I'll do it consistently for like months at a time, and then like a season will come, like the
Mm,
holidays or like having a kid,
okay.
where I'll like get off of it for like
Yeah.
a month or two and then
Yeah.
go back on. But the one thing I will say I do like with it is it helps me to be disciplined about when I stop eating. So
Mm,
like I'll stop eating, like, okay, I have dinner and it might be like, 6:30 or 7. All right, well, I'm done eating for the day. Like I'm not
mhm.
gonna be snacking
Yep.
late or like
Yep. Yep.
anything like that. So it does help with that. And then
Yeah.
maybe it does help with the calorie deficit thing too, because instead of having
It
three
does.
meals, I'll
Yeah.
have two meals. Like I have a big
Right.
lunch and then
Right.
dinner and then that's it,
Right.
and it's like skipping breakfast.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but then
I have
there's like
nothing
this.
against I have nothing against intermittent fasting, by the way.
Sure. No, I mean,
Yeah.
dude, I mean, I'm not looking like how you're looking, so I can't really like be on the defense
Yeah.
at this point. Like, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So but so okay, so this regimen that I do.
Yeah.
So I found that like when I was in high school, we'd hit the gym, we'd have like our I don't know, like in gym class, you have like your weight room days. And people would always they focus a lot on their upper body, and then they're like, oh yeah, today's leg day. And then like there's like one day a week where they're just like killing their legs, and then the
Mhm.
rest of the week it's just upper body. And you have these guys who look, the stereotypical like top heavy looking guy with like these
Yeah.
toothpick legs, looking like, I don't know if you ever watch like Johnny Bravo, like,
No.
it's like I might be dating myself, dang. All right, if you guys are on YouTube and you watch Johnny Bravo, please comment. Maybe not feel like I'm alone. But if you grew up in the '90s, like, and you watch Johnny Bravo, he's like this guy. It's a cartoon, of course, but he's like super stocky and like a refrigerator up top, and his legs are like like my pinky, And so obviously he's a cartoon figure, but so it's exaggerated. But that's kind of what a lot of the guys that I would see in the gym. That's how they would look. That's how
Yeah.
they'd be built. And I didn't want that. So I was like, you know what? If I really am trying to burn a lot of calories, and burn a lot of fat, like I might as well use the biggest muscles in my body, which are my legs. And
Yeah.
so, at least for me they are. And so I'm like, well, instead of having a single leg day, why don't I do upper body and lower body every day? So then I would have push days and pull days. So I have four I guess like strength training days and then a single cardio day in a week. And that's because I hate cardio. I hate running. I suck at it. And so I just was like, let me just have one day where I just focus on that. So my push days and pull days, like I would have so of those four push and pull days, the first push day is just like calisthenics. So no weights, it's push ups, squats, one-legged squats, whatever I can do, dips, whatever I can do with no weights. But it's upper body and lower body. Anything where I'm pushing, pushing. So that's like squats, push-ups, all that. Any muscle group
Okay.
that pushes, upper body, lower body.
Okay.
Then the second day is my pull days. That's like pull-ups
Yep.
and like anything with like my back, biceps, back, all that. And then like legs, I'm doing like hamstring exercises, no
Yeah.
weights, all calisthenics,
Okay.
all calisthenics. So I'm like, like you can do like how the soccer players do, where they're like kind of like leaning over on one leg and going back up. So you're just
Yep,
like
yep, yep.
just killing your hamstrings, like and so I would do that. Then that's 2 days. Then the third day it's another push day. So but now I'm doing weights. So now I can hit the bench, free weights, I can do squats, now I'm using weights. So and then the fourth day it's another pull day. And so now it's I can do like curls, I can do like was it Romanian or Roman
Yeah,
deadlifts?
Romanian deadlifts. Yeah,
Romanian deadlifts, yeah. And so every push day and pull day, it's upper body and lower body, like every day. So every day there's no
right.
leg days. If you're
Okay.
doing a push day,
Yeah.
it's pushing upper body, pushing lower body, pull day, pulling upper body, pulling lower body, and I'm just mixing in calisthenics and weights. My workouts are about 30 minutes long, and like I probably do like two upper body like exercises, and then like one or
Yeah.
two lower body exercises. So it's like half, maybe a quarter of like your workout. Like, and then if I'm on the treadmill, I'm running for 10 minutes. Like I hate running so like. And or I'll hop on my bike, and if the weather's nice, and I'll do a couple laps around the
Yeah.
neighborhood. I have a lot of hills, so I'll do like up the
Yeah.
hill. It's a good
And
workout.
that's
So
for your day 5, right? The
that's day
cardio day.
5. That's the
Right.
cardio day.
Got it. So
So pick
basically,
it apart, man. Hurt my feelings. Come on,
yeah.
lean
So
in.
basically, you're doing like 4 days a week of resistance training, which is great. I'm a huge owner of resistance training, right? But it's all full body every time, right? And
Yeah,
then you have one cardio day.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I like that you're mixing weights with calisthenics because that's exactly what I do
Okay,
for myself
nice.
and a lot of my clients.
Yes, clap it up for me.
Um, yeah. The only thing is, I wouldn't recommend like doing full body workouts for every single session, especially if you're
Okay,
doing 4 days a week.
okay,
Now, if you're doing like 2 or 3 days a week, you can make that work. But the purpose of like splitting up the exercises or splitting up the body parts with different exercises on different days is so that you can actually get more done for those individual body parts per training session.
okay. Yeah,
So you're kind of with what you're doing right now, you're kind of spreading yourself too thin. You're not able to really get the maximum stimulus or the
okay.
intensity in each training session because you're trying to do too much for each session.
Got it. Okay,
You know what I mean? When you could be like putting in the same amount of effort and getting more results if you're splitting up the exercise a little bit more.
got it. Okay,
All right. So
okay,
typically what I do, and this is what I've been doing for years for myself as well as my clients, the sweet spot is 4 times a week of resistance training,
yeah,
and we do 2 upper body days and 2 lower body days.
okay, okay.
Right. Now, of course, it can vary from client to client. A lot of people, they really need a lot of emphasis on their upper body, in which case we can do 3 upper body days and 1 lower body day.
Sure.
Right. But there really isn't that much cardiovascular training, like specific cardiovascular training, other than reminding you to get 10,000 steps per day.
Got it. Okay.
Because here's the thing
I
with
want to
like
hear
us.
more about that. I like, yeah, 'cause
Yeah,
I
yeah.
hate running. So you're speaking to me right now. So
Yeah, well, this is one of those things where it's like it's a common myth that I'm busting. There's actually a lot of myths that I can bust, and I would actually like to talk about that as well, just to
ooh, all
set the
right.
record straight.
Let's close, dude. Let's do that. Let's
Yeah, yeah,
close
okay.
with a bunch of myth busting. Yeah, let's do
Absolutely,
that. Let's do
absolutely.
that. Let's do that.
But yeah, dude, like you don't need to do a lot of cardio to lose weight. People always think like more sweat equates more work done.
Mm,
When it's like, okay, yeah, you're gonna be more tired doing a lot of cardio, but is that really the best bang for your buck? No, because okay, yeah, you're gonna burn some calories in the session, but if you just eat like an extra Reese's Pieces or something, or like
mm.
eat an extra chocolate bar, you just undid everything you did in that one cardio session,
Wow. Yeah.
right? When
Yeah.
if you focus on resistance training, not only are you burning calories in that session, but you're also burning calories throughout the day, and it increases your metabolism over the long term, which makes it easier for you to lose weight,
Mm,
right? Because you're building lean
mm.
muscle mass.
Yeah. That
So
muscle mass is then gonna make it so you can burn more calories easier, like
exactly,
faster. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly, right? So I get frustrated when I see people in the gym or when I'm talking to people in my DMs and they're trying to lose weight and they tell me like, "Oh yeah, I'm doing cardio like 5 times a week." I'm like, "Yo, you're like doing something that's so hard, and it's like
Yeah.
you're going the wrong direction. It's like, why are
Yeah.
you making this harder for yourself?"
Yeah.
So If you're not a proponent of cardio, don't worry about it. Like, you don't have to do a lot of cardio.
I love walking, so
Yeah, walking is great, and especially for people like us who are, trying to start a business, running a company, we're
yep,
sitting down, we're sedentary a lot of the time, which
yeah,
is why I'm a huge proponent of getting 10,000 steps in per day,
yeah, yeah,
maybe even 15,000 steps per day.
yeah,
So one thing I realized was when I transitioned from working as an in-person trainer to doing everything remote and running my online fitness company, I was walking a lot less because when I was as an in-person trainer, I'd be training clients all day in the gym. I'd be up on my feet all day. I'd get like 15,000, 20,000 steps. And then I transitioned to online. Now I'm just sitting in front of my computer,
yeah,
responding to
yep,
text messages and checking in with clients.
yep,
So I went from like 10,000 steps to like 5,000, less than like maybe even 3,000 steps. All right. So my energy
yeah,
level significantly decreased. And I realized that right? I had to make that. But then I realized, okay, actually most people live those sedentary jobs, do those sedentary jobs. So
right, right,
you have to find some way to get 10,000 steps in instead of trying to like fit a cardio day into your schedule.
yeah, yeah,
Because doing that one cardio session isn't necessarily going to do um, as much as like trying to get like 10,000 steps in per day. Because then you're also trying to stay active.
yeah, yeah. Like you're moving. I think that that's awesome because I find that the walking is not just it's not just the moving of the body, even though that's like the biggest thing. It's also a way for me to clear my head and kind of center
Yeah,
myself and whatnot.
absolutely.
And whether I know some people do meditation.
Hmm.
For me, like it's like it's a time to pray. It's a time to reflect. It's a time to just like process, like hear my thoughts, where there's not so much like noise because I'm walking by myself. So
Yeah.
there's not people around me trying to grab my attention. I'm
Yeah.
just walking, I'm processing. It's like a self-centering time as well. So mentally it's great too, you know. Um yeah.
Yeah. 100%. No phones, no distractions. You're just walking, getting your
Yeah.
steps in. Those are some of the times like I get my best ideas when I'm just walking.
Facts. Yeah.
And then I'm
That's
just
like yeah.
yeah, thinking,
I co-sign that 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, instead of just sitting all day looking in
Yep.
front of your computer.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, big like
Right.
straight up. I mean, that's actually for the first episode. I did episode with a group called Mav, and they're like this media production company. They're amazing. They actually made my trailer, and I met them walking in a park. Like that's how
Oh,
I
wow.
connected with them. Like over a year ago, and then like connected with them a year later and led to something great. But again, like I was walking in the park and I wasn't like tied up on the phone or whatever, so I was available to talk
Yes.
to this guy that I ran
Yeah.
into. Now, are there times that I might handle a phone call on a walk? Sure, but at least I'm walking.
Yes.
Yeah, at least I'm
Exactly.
walking. Another
Exactly.
thing I wanted to ask is, so I love sugar. Like I
Mm.
just, dude, like I something about it. I guess it's the was it endorphins that releases in your brains or
Yeah.
whatever it is. It's whether it's candy or it's like pastries,
No.
like I love sugar. And I know that about myself, and so I've tried to limit it and whatnot and say, okay, you know what? During the week, I'm not gonna eat any sugar. If I want to have a dessert or a treat or something like that, like I'll wait until Saturday. I'll wait until the weekend. The
Mm.
weekend comes, and I usually don't like OD, but I do OD if I'm going through something like crazy emotional. Then I realize that like my sugar intake increases significantly, and so
Mm.
I'm just curious what advice or what perspective you would give to someone like me, because
Mm.
I'm sure a lot of the listeners can relate and they
Yeah.
also struggle with just the sugar intake. Sugar and bread, man. It's like
Sure.
whoever like whoever came up with that combination, like there's sugar and then there's bread and there's sugar and bread together like a donut
Yeah.
or a cake, and it's like, dude, just such
Yeah.
a crazy combination.
Yeah. So going back to what I was talking about earlier, right? The nutrition part, all right?
Yeah.
What is sugar? It's carbohydrates, right? So carbohydrates is a macronutrient. right? So what else is a macronutrient? Protein and fats, right?
Yeah.
Alcohol is also a macronutrient, right?
Hmm.
Um, so are you familiar with like calories and macronutrients?
So I'm familiar with, like, if you have bread, like like it converts to glucose, like that kind of thing. Like, so whether you have sugar or whether you have a bunch of bread, like it's still gonna have the same impact on your body, is my
Right. Yeah,
understanding.
yeah. Yeah,
Um,
that's I mean, yeah, that's not wrong. But what I'm talking about is talking about like the energy like within
sure.
carbohydrates, right?
I
So
would probably say I'll probably say no. Like I'm
okay,
not like
so here's the
I'm not
thing,
gonna
right?
pretend. Yeah.
Okay, most people, okay, yeah, I mean, they got a sweet tooth, donuts, pastries,
Yeah.
sugary drinks, Coca-Cola, sodas, and stuff like that. Right. The thing is, like, yeah, like those kind of like junk foods are they it makes it a lot easier for you to gain weight because it's easy to consume,
Yeah.
right? And then you start racking up a lot of calories. Like
Yeah.
if I drank like a glass of Coke, right? That's like, I don't know what, 200 calories, and
Sure.
I don't feel full at all. So what's going to happen? I'm going to eat more, right? If I
Right.
eat a donut, I mean, that's like 400 calories, right? I'm not going to feel full. I'm going to eat more, right?
Yeah.
So the problem is like with sugar and carbohydrates, it's just very, very easy to consume without making you feel satiated at the same time,
Yeah.
which is why people tend to have issues with their weight when they tend to consume a lot of sugar. The more important thing is you understanding your calorie and macronutrient needs for your body and for your specific goals. All right.
Yeah.
So, like I was talking about earlier, if you're in a calorie deficit, all right, you're going to lose weight, right? And what are calories comprised of? Your macronutrients, your carbohydrates, your proteins, and your fats, right?
Yeah.
So, on a day-to-day basis, on a week-to-week basis, there's a certain amount of grams of carbohydrates that you can consume for your body weight to maintain your body weight, but there's also a certain amount of carbohydrates you can consume to lose weight. So, as long as you can stay under or within those parameters, you're going to lose weight.
Sure. Sure.
All right. So,
Got it. Okay.
what that means is you don't have to cut everything out. All right.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that doesn't mean we just eat pizza and donuts all day.
Right. Right.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
So, it's about learning how to fit those kind of foods into your diet so you don't feel like you're restricting yourself, and at least having a little bit of structure into it. So, that, okay, you can plan ahead if you want to indulge a little bit on a Saturday night out, but you've planned ahead and you've made space for that in your
Yeah.
diet
Okay.
and your
Okay.
nutrition. Instead of having no structure at all and thinking like, you know what, I'm not going to eat any quote unquote sugar for this whole week, but then on Saturday I am, like, that doesn't really tell me anything. That doesn't mean anything because you could completely go over your calories on Saturday. You could undo everything that you did the whole week.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to first understand what your individual calorie and macronutrient needs are for your specific goals. So if you're trying to lose weight, right?
Yeah.
And then you have to make sure that you eat according to that. If you follow that, you can eat whatever you want, right? You could eat McDonald's and donuts and pizza and still lose weight. Is that the best way to do it? No, because it's probably not healthy for longevity, and you're probably gonna
Yeah.
feel like absolute crap every single day.
Right. Right.
It's much better to eat healthier foods, home cooked meals, like whole foods, right? Instead of like junk foods.
Right.
But I mean, you gotta live life too. You gotta indulge in like some desserts every now and then and have pizza and burgers and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So a big philosophy of mine is teaching people how to eat whatever they want and still lose the weight. Because if you can do that,
Yeah.
you're more likely to keep it sustainable for the long term because,
Sustainable.
like you
Yeah.
said yourself, you tend to fall off in the holidays where there's birthday parties, events, you're traveling and whatnot,
Yeah.
right? But imagine if you could stay consistent throughout the holidays and throughout those events, well, then nothing stopping you from hitting your goal.
That's major. Yeah. And I think that's been. I think that's also that's for me. That's part of why I haven't stuck to certain regimens in the
Mhm.
past. Is I'm like, you know what, like cutting out all sugar and all carbs. I'm like, I've done it for like 8 months, and you
Yeah.
just crash. Like you
Yeah.
just like you just somebody makes your favorite dessert and you're just like, man, like,
Yeah.
well, it's Thanksgiving. You just go in and
Yeah.
it's like, and you
Yeah.
OD and it's like, and you
Yeah.
feel bad and it's like all that. It's like, you know what? If I can find a lifestyle that is sustainable,
Mm-hmm.
that I can do long term, then I'll
Mm-hmm.
actually stick with it. And
Mm-hmm.
if I can feel good, like
Mm-hmm.
physically, while doing that, then great. Now, how to, like, I've never done like counting calories and all that kind of stuff. So I like that's like a whole. I know people have like apps and stuff like that.
Yep. Yep.
You mentioned like planning ahead for going out on
Yep.
Saturday night.
Yep.
I've had people that are like, yeah, I'm gonna go on a run, and I'm going on this run because I want to like eat like crazy tomorrow. So
Yeah.
so like when you, so I guess that's kind of two separate questions. Like when you are planning ahead for something, like
Yeah.
how do you plan ahead, or how do you go about planning ahead for something? Do you do an extra workout, or yeah, I guess how do you do that? Or and then the other question is like how do you keep track of like your macronutrients
Yeah.
and your
So
calories and
I'll
all that?
address those two questions, but then you brought up something that was very interesting, and I wanted to share a story about it.
Please.
You talked about how like you've experienced both, like you crave a lot of sugar, and then you also feel better when you're like not eating unhealthily, and you kind of been through both, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not from the U.S., right? So I was born, raised in Hong Kong. I came to the U.S. in 2016, and my first year here in the United States, I was exposed to like the variety of like junk foods that were out there, like
Oh
all the
wow.
like the
I'm so
Oreos,
curious what that was
Snickers,
like, man. What that was like
pizza.
for you.
Oh my god, it was delicious. And so when you're telling me that you have a problem with sugar and you have a sweet tooth, dude, I totally get it. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. Like my first year, I was probably eating like pizza and donuts and chocolate bars like every single day because we didn't
Yeah.
have access to that back
Wow.
in China. Like
Really?
here,
Wow.
if you go like here in the U.S., if you go to Home Depot, which is like
Right.
Home Depot, you go
Right.
to the
Right.
checkout and there's like food and snacks in the checkout. Like, why is there food and snacks
Right.
at
What?
Home Depot? That doesn't exist where I'm from.
Wow.
So the food environment is completely different here. So you have to take that into consideration. But
Yeah.
that plays into like how like I mean, I'm assuming you grew up here, right? So
Yep.
growing up,
Yep.
you were exposed to those foods, so you're so used to eating it, which means like your body is conditioned to crave it more. So
Yeah.
I actually talk about this topic in one of the nutrition training videos that I have for my clients.
Yeah.
And it's like if you're trying to get rid of these kind of sugary cravings and these addictions, which it is an addiction because those type of foods are
Facts.
designed to be addictive,
Facts. It's a straight up
you
addiction.
yep,
Yeah.
you have to slowly begin to like literally like stop eating those kind of foods.
Yeah.
And the best way to do that is actually when you're really, really hungry, like that's the best time to introduce your body to healthy foods. So
Mm.
like if you're like starving, like you didn't eat for a long time,
Yeah.
and the first type of food you go for is like a Snickers bar or like a pizza or some type of junk food, guess
Yeah.
what? Your body is gonna crave that type of food even more
Interesting.
because it's
Yeah.
like it's so delicious and satiating.
It's like
Plus, you're like
satisfying
starving.
it when it needs it the
Right,
most. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. But if you instead get rid of that, and when you're really, really hungry, you prioritize, okay, a very nice home cooked meal, maybe like a lean piece of steak, some
Mm.
vegetables,
Sounds good.
some sweet potato, and then maybe some fresh fruit after that.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna actually start conditioning your body to crave that type of food more because you're gonna realize how delicious that food actually tastes.
Yeah.
And then over
Yeah.
time, you're gonna slowly move away from those junk foods. And if anything, you're actually gonna become disgusted to it. So
Yeah.
that's actually what happened to me. I've actually experienced it. Is like now, if I try to eat like an Oreo or some kind of junk food, I might take like a bite, but then
Yeah.
I kind of feel gross and disgusted after that, and it's like my
Wow.
body just rejects it.
Wow. It's
So it's
like
very interesting.
resetting your taste buds. It's like
Yeah, yeah,
resetting
it is
your,
kind of
yeah,
like that.
like your
And then
palate.
you,
Yeah.
and when it comes to like addiction, I mean that's a whole different another topic, but this can apply to other vices as well, right? Nowadays,
Yeah.
people are addicted to different kind of stuff, like alcohol, pornography, right?
Yep. Yep.
The more you feed your addiction, the more like the bigger it's gonna be because it's
Facts.
like a
Yeah.
feedback loop. So you're like
Right.
satisfying the feedback loop, and it's gonna get worse and worse over time. So
Yeah.
that's one thing I learned, and that is especially the case with junk food and sugar addictions and stuff like that.
Yeah. That's major,
So
man. That's
yeah, and then
major.
I'm gonna address your other two questions, which were how to plan ahead.
Yeah, planning ahead and how to actually keep track of, like, you talked about, being in a calorie deficit, but it's like how do you keep track of that?
Right. Okay, so let's talk about that first, because then you won't understand how to plan ahead if you don't understand that first. So, um, yeah, you can use a lot of different apps. You can go on the internet, you can search up, hey, what's your body weight, what's your height, what's your goal, and then they'll kind of spit out some numbers for you. But here's the very important thing. It's never going to be 100% accurate.
Right.
So what's going to happen is like, okay, you're going to get these numbers, all right? You're going to follow these macros, you're going to follow these calories. But the only way that you know if these numbers are accurate for you is if you weigh yourself consistently and frequently, all
Okay.
right? Because I have clients or people tell me all the time, like, Hagen, I'm tracking my macros, I'm tracking my calories to a T, but I'm not losing any weight. And then I ask them, well, are you weighing yourself consistently? Like, I'm only weighing myself like once a week, maybe once a month. I'm like, well, how
Okay.
do you know that these numbers that you got from this app or from this website, these calories that they prescribe you, are accurate if you're not stepping on the scale weighing yourself? Because it doesn't matter how strict you follow your nutrition plan, your set of macros and calories, if you're not measuring your weight on the scale, because then you don't get any feedback of whether or not you're actually that those calories are actually appropriate for you.
Hmm. Okay. Okay.
Make sense?
So like, okay, so you would weigh yourself because you're trying to see. So are you weighing yourself because you're trying to see if your body is burning fat, or are you trying to see like I guess what I'm really asking is like if you this might be too much information for some of the listeners, but like if a
Maybe.
person's not like regular, you know what I'm saying, like they're not like pooping enough,
Right.
it's like
Right.
they're gonna like weigh more on the scale, and then if they have a day with like, oh man, I was really regular today, and it's like now all of a sudden like you've lost a bunch of weight, but it's not because you burned like more fat,
Right.
it's because you were backed up and you just let it loose,
No,
it's
100%.
like I don't
And
know,
and and
like
dude, I'm glad you brought that up because that's all the more reason why you need to weigh yourself more frequently.
sure,
So
sure, sure,
so
yeah,
what happens is like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna make you weigh in every single day, so 7 days a week. But
yeah.
on that last day, we're gonna take an average of all those 7 weigh-ins, and that's the number that we're gonna look at.
Oh, I
Because
see.
you're right, your weight is gonna fluctuate every single day. Like, if I
Right.
drank too much water the night before, or I didn't go to the bathroom before I stepped on the scale, then I might weigh in a little heavier. Does that
Yeah.
mean that let's say I weighed in 2 pounds more, does that mean I gained 2 pounds of fat? No, not necessarily, right? It just means
Got it.
that in that particular time, I weighed 2 pounds more for whatever reason, right?
Yeah.
So, but the more frequently you weigh yourself, the more data points you get, and you have a better picture of what your true weight is. If you only weigh yourself once a week, well, all those fluctuations, you have no idea what's influencing your weight.
That's me. Yeah, that makes
You're not
sense.
going to have a
Yeah.
clear idea of it. I
Yeah.
would rather somebody weigh themselves consistently on their weight loss journey and track the averages and use that information to make nutritional choices than to track calories and macros really, really strictly and not weigh themselves at all.
Got it. Got
But
it.
of course, I recommend a combination of both. You should
Right.
be tracking to some extent your calories and macros, but also weighing in consistently to making sure that both are accurate and we have the data that we need to make the changes that we need to your program.
Yeah. Got it. Got it. Okay. All right. So that answers the question about, I guess, tracking. It's a combination of tracking your macros, whether you're using apps and they're giving you estimates, and weighing yourself. A combination of the two. And then, man, what was my other question? Do you remember?
Planning ahead, right?
Planning ahead. There we go. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So planning ahead is basically okay. Like if you know on Saturday night, let's say today is Friday, right? Tomorrow night you're gonna go out for some dinner or something. You're celebrating an anniversary, for example, or you got a business dinner or something, and you know that there's gonna be alcohol there and lots of food out, at a restaurant or something. Well, then what I would recommend my clients to do is to quote unquote save some of the calories for that one meal at night. So that means earlier throughout the day, you're gonna consume less calories from carbohydrates and fats. That way, at that dinner, because most quote unquote junk foods when you eat out are higher in carbohydrates and fats. That way, when you're at that dinner, you're not going to go over your calories because you haven't eaten the whole day,
Got it. Got it.
right? But more importantly, you still have to hit your protein throughout the day.
Sure. Okay.
So this is something that we haven't talked about yet. You have to prioritize your protein every single day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Most people simply aren't eating enough protein. Like
Sure.
whenever I sign on a new client and I audit their nutrition, they're like consuming like not enough protein at all.
Sure. Sure.
And you want to be consuming at least a gram of protein per pound of body weight every single day. That's like ideal. Because number one, it increases your metabolism. Number two, it helps you recover from the training that you're doing at the
Yeah.
gym. And
Sure.
especially if you're trying to lose weight, well, okay, yeah, we want to lose a lot of weight, but we don't want to lose a lot of muscle mass either, right? So while you're losing weight and cutting, if you increase your protein intake, it mitigates the muscle loss.
Got it.
Right?
Okay.
So what I would do in terms of planning ahead is try your best to hit your protein throughout the day, but then consume less carbohydrates and fats because you're going to get those in that meal when you go out.
Sure.
So you kind of save those calories for that one meal. And then, of course, during that day, get 10,000 steps in, do a little bit of activity. That's what I
Yeah.
would say for planning ahead. But obviously, you shouldn't be doing that every single day.
Yeah. So there's some people who I've followed, like, and it's usually the intermittent fasting folks,
Yeah.
and they'll say like, hey, you don't need to count calories. It's more about when you eat things, like timing of things. Like, for example, like if you eat sugar like first thing in the morning, or like the if I guess doesn't matter what time of day, but more so like if the first thing you put into your body, like when your body is coming out of like a fasted state, is
Yeah.
sugar, then that sugar is going to impact your body greater than if you have had, like, say you have your lunch and then some to where in the middle of the afternoon before you have your dinner you have whatever that sugar that you were going to have,
Yeah.
a piece of candy or whatever, a donut, whatever. It's going to impact your body less than if you had it first thing. And so I listen to different people, and I can't, like, I don't study this stuff, so I can't, like,
Yeah.
like speak like an expert on it. But I'm
Yeah.
curious on the people who, like, what are your thoughts on the people who say that? People who say like, hey, you don't got to count calories. It's all about like the
Yeah.
timing of like when you eat things.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. You don't have to count calories, but timing doesn't matter.
Got it.
Like,
Got it.
there's no like specific time. Like, it's not like just because you eat something at this specific time is going to be worse than if you eat it at some other specific time.
Sure.
What's more important is like the total daily intake on a
Sure.
day-to-day basis over a long period of time,
Sure. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I can, like, people say all the time, oh, don't eat past 8 p.m. Like,
Yeah.
why? All right, so
Sure.
8 p.m. now would be like 8 a.m. in China because of the 12-hour time difference.
Sure.
So does
Sure.
that mean that everybody that's eating right now at 8 p.m. is gonna get fat? Like, that makes no sense, right?
Sure.
So
Sure.
timing has nothing to do with it. So like I could eat nothing the whole day and then eat something past 8 p.m., but like I'm not going to gain fat because I ate nothing the whole day. So I'm severely under my calories.
Sure. 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 Okay.
So
Yeah.
yeah, the timing doesn't matter at all.
Got it. Got it. And I think that I think that the before bed thing, I think that there's something about I guess like allowing your food to, I don't think digest is the right word, because my understanding is that the digestion process actually takes a while.
Yeah.
But there's something about like eating, right? Like, say I have a big meal. Now, not in the example that you just gave though. Not in like I didn't eat all day and I
Okay.
had a meal.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
but like in like you had 3 meals,
Yeah.
but you had your dinner, and then you're like, man, right before you go to bed, you're like, I'm gonna have an extra 2 slices of pizza or something like that. Like, or you just like you timed your dinner super late. Like you had your dinner like 9 o'clock, and
Yeah.
you went right to bed.
Yeah.
Um, my understanding is that there's something not great about like eating and going right to sleep because it doesn't give your body a chance to process the food or something like that. Is
No,
that
no,
also
that's fairly.
okay? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's so people who are like asking questions about this, at
Yeah.
the end of the day, what do they want? They want to get in shape,
Right.
right?
Right. Right. Right.
Like if we just kind of zoom out on this, because right now we're talking about really, really specific stuff, which
Sure.
in the
Sure.
grand scheme of things doesn't matter. And most
Right.
people who
Right.
talk about this kind of stuff they're not in good shape themselves, and
Sure.
they brand
Sure.
themselves as nutrition experts, right?
Sure. Sure.
At the end of the day, what do you need to focus on? Like, if you want to get in shape, you want a six
Right.
pack, you want nice muscles, all
Right.
right? Resistance train 4 times a week,
Right.
get 10,000 steps in per day, meet your calorie and protein requirements.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Keep it
as
simple.
simple
Like keep
as
it
I can
simple.
put it,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
people are overthinking about the timing and like, should I eat this right before I go to sleep? It doesn't matter. You guys are
Yeah.
focusing on the wrong details. Like,
Mm.
you're focusing on that when you don't even have like the core 4 parts in
Mm.
place, which is what I just talked about. You know
I
what I
like
mean?
that. It's like keep it simple. Like don't overthink and feel like
Exactly.
you're like walking on eggshells with your nutrition and your like just keep it simple. That's probably an easier way to like live life is just
Yeah.
keeping it
But you
simple.
know
Yeah.
why though? It's because people are always trying to find like the secret, the magic, the trick.
Yeah.
And that doesn't exist. Like, you
Yeah.
can't avoid like the truth. You can't avoid the
Hard
hard
work.
work. You can't avoid the
Yeah.
core things that you need to do to
Yeah.
get in elite shape
Yeah.
and maintain it.
Yeah. And so before we transition into my favorite segment of the show, the no regret segment of the show, I wanted to just ask if any just kind of last pieces of advice for people trying to follow either in your footsteps or
Mhm,
just entrepreneurs who are chasing a dream, who are trying to build
mhm,
something special, build something significant for their lives, and they're struggling with taking their fitness seriously. Any just last
mm.
pieces of advice before we move on to the next section.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll probably explain this with kind of the 4 core values of my company. Um, so like I said before, you know how like I talk a lot. So this is obviously fitness related, but I don't like to talk a lot about training and nutrition. Not that it's not important, but like I said before, what's more important is that you have the right mindset.
Yeah.
So these 4 core values are what's required for you to have the right mindset. Once you have the right mindset, then we can talk about the technicalities, like the
Yeah.
training and the nutrition, right?
Yeah.
So when you're asking me like, okay, what advice I have for people who are really successful, in finances, but they're struggling with their fitness, what I would say is this: number one, just be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Like, look in the mirror and ask yourself, take your shirt off, look at yourself in the mirror for 2 minutes straight.
Mm,
All right, do
I
that.
like that.
Right?
I like that.
Just be honest. Do you like how you look in the mirror? Most people avoid it. You'd be surprised. I mean, I don't think you're surprised because you're very honest with yourself. But
I would
when
say
they take off
no.
their clothes,
My
yeah,
belly's too big, man. I would say no,
there
dude.
you go.
Like,
But you're
you know what
honest.
I'm
See,
saying?
you're honest with yourself. You're telling me right now, right? And it's
Yeah.
public too. But most people, when they take their clothes off to go to the shower, they don't want to look at themselves in the mirror. They don't want to
Mm,
step on the scale. They're avoiding these things.
yeah.
When they wear clothes to cover their body up. They don't want to take
Yep.
pictures in a certain way. All these subconscious things, they're doing it, but they don't know that they're doing it. So
Mm,
the first thing is being honest with yourself. Tell yourself the truth. All right,
yeah.
if you're out of shape, just tell yourself you're out of shape. If you're fat, tell yourself that you're fat. Be honest with it. Don't be
Mm,
afraid of the truth.
yeah.
And then the second thing is admit that you actually want to change.
Mm,
All right? And not just be healthy or be fit and be toned, something generic like that, which has no emotion to that language. I talked about that as well.
yeah.
Admit that you actually want to be like jacked and shredded.
Mm,
Like, the language that you use matters a lot. When I talk to men, that tends to be what the language that they use. When I
yeah.
talk to women, they tell me they want to be sexy. They want to be like, when they walk into, they want to make like other girls jealous or whatever. They want their revenge body. They use language like that, but it has more emotion, and that
Yeah.
emotion leads to motivation, and that motivation
Yeah.
leads to their discipline. So that
Yeah.
second step is just admit that you actually want to have an elite physical shape,
Yeah.
right? Because a lot of people will be honest with themselves, they'll tell themselves the truth, but they won't necessarily admit that they want to actually change.
Sure.
They'll give some BS response, right? And then the third thing I would say is just remove your ego, because a lot of people that I work with, they're super successful, right?
Yeah.
But they think just because they know everything about business, they think that they know everything about fitness, when it's like,
Mm,
this is not your expertise, right?
yeah.
So the reason why like you're struggling and you're stuck right now is because obviously you're doing something wrong,
Yeah.
right? So you're
Yeah.
doing all these challenges and these diets and these different like fads, all right, but you're
Yeah.
not where you want to be. But at the same time, you don't want to get help, and because you think you're doing the right thing, well, then you're just going to waste a lot of time. So one
Yeah.
thing I would say is like remove your ego and actually like want to learn more, because there's more to this fitness thing than what you know.
Yeah.
And then the last thing is just make a commitment to change. All right.
Yeah.
If you like, okay, you got those first 3 steps down. Okay, now you understand, you have the right mindset. Okay, make the decision to actually commit to this lifestyle change and actually
Yeah.
follow through with it this time.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
Breaking it down into 4 pillars. I love
Yeah.
that. And with that, let's transition into the no regrets segment of the show.
Come on, hey.
And before we transition into the no regrets segment of the show, just a couple of quick reminders. So, you guys, I'm sure you've heard me talk about this amazing Patreon group that we have called the Contagious Collective. So, it's $5 a month. And for those who just feel extra generous and just want to support the podcast, I've added a level of $25 a month, but the base level is $5 a month. And it gets you access to everything inside of Patreon. We do exclusive content, behind the scenes stuff, even parts of this interview may just be on Patreon. We'll see. We'll see. I want to keep it special for my supporters in the Contagious Collective, but also check out the website. That's thecontagiousthoughtspodcast.com. You can get cool merch like what I have on right here. I love the Contagious Thoughts podcast and lots of other cool designs. Thanks to Mav and for designing a lot of that merch. Follow us on Facebook, on Instagram. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe, like, share the video. It definitely helps get this out, get the message out to other people who need it. And please make sure you go. I'm going to put all of Hagen's information in the show notes. Follow him on IG. I think that his tone and the way he goes about his posts are different from anyone else that I hear on social media. So he knows how to get your attention. He knows how to make you think. And he's a fitness person who is putting out stuff that's not just a bunch of fitness videos. It's all about mindset and the way that you look at your approach your life. So highly recommend following him. And then please, number one ask of everything I said, give us feedback on the episodes. Do you guys like the longer episodes that I've been posting lately, or did you like it when I was doing part ones and part twos? What do you think of the content? What would you like to hear? Who would you like me to interview next? Uh, Tag your favorite influencer or your favorite entrepreneur. Tag them in one of my posts and ask me to bring them on the show. Just I want to make this what you guys are looking to benefit from. So help us help you. And with that, let's get on to the no regrets segment of the show. So, the no regrets segment of the show is where myself and the guest have a chance to reflect on the episode and answer the following questions. Number one, is there anything that you said that you regret saying? And number two, is there anything that you did not say that you wish you did say? And with that, let's dive in.
Okay, number one, is there anything that I said that I regret saying? I mean, no, I don't think so. I think I meant
Okay.
everything that I say. I'm very passionate
Yeah.
about everything that I talked about, because I really believe that my message and what I have to say is the message that people need to hear,
Yeah.
not about, like you said, like, I don't like to talk a lot about training and nutrition because all that stuff is free and it's on the internet.
Yeah.
It's like, if you don't have the right mindset to start with, it doesn't matter how perfect of a plan you have.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I love everything that I talked about, everything that's on my social media page. Yeah, I don't regret anything.
I love that, man. I love that. Yeah. And this is I love this segment because it really helps you to see like who it helps the listeners to see like who the guest is. And I love when people come on here And I mean, whatever they say is like completely fine. But like the people who come on, like, no, I stand on everything that I said, and that's just what it is. It's like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like it just shows their personality. And then some
Yeah.
people are like, actually, when I said that one thing, yeah, I probably could have said that differently. Like, and that's cool too. Like, some episodes I have regrets. This episode, I don't have any. I don't have anything that I said that I wish I didn't say. It's actually, you know what? In the beginning, I was doing the intro, so I'm actually I was trying a new intro and I completely butchered it. But
Really?
like I said something along the lines of like I don't know. I have to go back and listen, but it's like this podcast is like I said like I think that it's the number one podcast for this and this. That's totally was not the script. So like
Oh,
totally jacked that up. And so I think I regret not doing the intro that I wanted to do. I've been playing around with a couple of different intros, so and I'm just very transparent with the listeners. Like when I'm trying new stuff,
I
I don't.
thought it was great, man.
Oh, thanks, dude. Thanks. Yeah. So that's my regret. Yeah. For the second question, anything that you did not say that you wish you did say?
Oh man. Let me think about that.
Yeah, I'll be thinking about mine too. Actually, yeah, I think I actually have mine. Oh man.
I mean, I'll say this because I am a fitness coach. I'm in the fitness industry. This is what I talk about all day, right? You really don't understand the benefits of being in like peak physical shape. Like you don't understand how much of a benefit that has on every other aspect of your life until you go through it.
Mm.
Like it's
Wow. Yeah.
hard when you're out of shape and you're overweight and you're fat. Like you don't understand because you're stuck in that way of thinking and you're stuck in that lifestyle.
Yeah.
Once you transition or at least start working towards getting in shape and being healthy, I guarantee you the grass is greener on that side. So
Wow. I love that.
yeah,
Yeah. Thanks, man. Speaking to my soul right there. Cause yeah, I want to experience that. I want to experience that.
for sure, man.
In the past, when I was in better shape, like I felt amazing and
You already know.
mentally, like I haven't had a six pack in a long time. So,
Okay, it's time to get it back.
it's time to get it back, man. Straight up.
Oh, bro.
No, straight up. And so for me, in the intro, I think that the most important part of the episode is actually introing my guest. And the reason for that, like my wife put it perfectly, like she said, hey, it's really important that while people are here on this planet, that you give them their flowers. You never know when it's like, I don't know when my last day is. I don't know when someone else's last day is. And it's really important that while they're here, you give them the flowers. And she gave me the example of Jay Shetty, and he's I'm sure you're familiar with Jay Shetty.
Yep.
If you
Yep.
guys,
Familiar with
the
him.
listeners, if you guys don't know, Google him and you'll learn very quickly. But he had the chance of interviewing Kobe Bryant, and it's not like I expect like people, like you go on a podcast and something happens. It's not that. It's more so like it was really special that he got to give Kobe his flowers like while he was still here, and he put his heart into that interview with Kobe, and we all now have that to listen to. His family has it, all of that, and no one knew it was going to happen, obviously. But I think that it's important that while people are here, that you highlight them, give them their props, give them their flowers, and that's why I do intros the way I do them. And in this particular intro, there was one more thing that I wanted to add on that I regretted not saying, and I wanted to add into the intro, uh, obviously like the things that I said, but I want to add that you're passionate about helping entrepreneurs to be in their best shape physically so they can be their best in life and business, because
Absolutely.
how you are physically impacts how you are mentally. And I wanted to set up the interview with that because it's just a different, I'm not saying it's like brand new to the planet, but it's just a different I guess, mindset or approach to fitness than what I see with a lot of other fitness coaches online.
Yeah,
So although I think we got to that in the interview for sure, like if
for
anyone's
sure.
listening, they definitely got to that. But
Yeah,
my intention was to say that up front. And so that's my regret as far as like what I wish I said in the beginning of the interview. So
gotcha.
at least we got there. So it worked out.
Yeah,
So yeah. Um hey man, this was fun. This was fun, dude.
absolutely, man. It was
This
really
was a
fun.
lot of fun. So thanks for coming on the show, man. I can't
Dude,
wait
well,
to
yeah,
push this out to the listeners and hear their feedback and what they got from everything, man. So thanks for what you do, and really appreciate you coming on the show, man.
dude, thanks for letting me come on the show, man. If you're ever down in Tampa, Florida, let me know.
Oh, absolutely.
If I ever go, wait, you're not in Virginia anymore, right?
I'm in Pennsylvania, man. In
Oh,
Pennsylvania.
okay,
Yeah,
gotcha. So
dude.
yeah, I'm probably not gonna go there, but if you're ever down here
Yeah.
in Tampa, Florida,
Yeah.
let me know. But yeah,
Yeah,
this was
bro.
fun, bro.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, man. Hey, and for the
Yeah,
listeners, I'll catch you guys next time.